Hello and welcome to Talking Game. Has just finished. West Ham United 1, Burnley 1 from the London Stadium. As the points are shared between the two sides, Gonzo, we're here to discuss the highlights. Now, I want to jump straight to the injury. I don't want to discuss the injury. Obviously, a horrific injury for Ashley Westwood, and hope he's all right. But I want to discuss the game pre-injury. So how do you think West Ham were playing until the game was paused for that?
Pre-injury, there was two parts of the game. So first 9-10 minutes, Burnley showed some real intent. That being said, we had a couple of really good double shot from Bowen. We were getting corners, but they handled us very, very well in the air from those corners. But I felt after 9-10 minutes, we started to get some momentum, some real momentum, and we had a lot of territory, and they were forced further and further back. And I thought we'd sort of run off not rustiness, but maybe the stiffness, if you like, from in the legs from the travel and the European game and whatnot. And it just seemed like we were sort of coming into the ascendancy at that point in the game. Were my thoughts at that point.
Yeah, I thought we were playing quite well. I thought we were sort of swarming Burnley, I guess. It felt like we almost didn't create much chances, but like you said, Bowen had one cleared off the line, and then the other one, a fantastic save from Nick Pope after a well-worked corner between Declan Rice and Javid Bowen. I thought we were playing good, actually. I thought we were looking busy, we were looking enthusiastic. I thought we were getting loads of corners. I think we had 4 corners before the injury in that spell of the first half. We were looking good, and I was quite impressed with us. Similarly, I was quite impressed by Burnley. I thought they came out. I thought they were trying to cause trouble for us. They were getting forward well. They were getting forward quickly. They were very energetic. They were playing some nice football in periods of that time as well. They were not launching or anything like that. They got the ball down. They were playing quick passing football. I thought it was a real good game of football to watch, actually. But I was feeling comfortable, I guess, with West Ham's performance. And there was no, sort of, like you said, there was a little bit of rustiness perhaps at the start. But I thought we were starting to crank up the gears a little bit. I thought we were moving the ball nicely. And I thought, we'll go on and win this game. I was feeling quite good. But just not long after the match restarted, 3 minutes after the match restarted, it was 1-0 Burnley, Gonzo.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was terrible play by Johnson. Really, really terrible. Oh no, sorry, that's the penalty thing. Yeah, okay. So Dawson was out jumped by Jay Rodriguez, which should not happen. I mean, it should not happen. And there was a double one, and then Weghourst out jumped Soucek. Again, I mean, that's who I would put on him, to be fair. I mean, we should at least be contesting him, but he was almost falling over when he did it. I saw Bowen was clambering to try and get back to sort of help out and be up against Weghourst, but if that's who we've targeted as a guy to mark Weghourst from corners, clearly we hadn't. He was just trying his best. And also, I felt it was a real massive lack of conviction from the goalkeeper as well. Yeah. So I thought actually the 3 players who can really take command there. Dawson could command and dominate Rodriguez and should have done. And Soucek could have been just more decisive and stronger. And I was going to say taller, he can't grow anymore, but you know what I mean. And then, well, Fabianski can only need to look up the other end of the pitch to start looking at how maybe he should have been performing today, by the way. And I just thought it was weak, and there's indecision from all of them, actually, and combined all together. I thought it gave them an easy goal, really. Unlike us to not contest any of those 3 battles.
Yeah, I think, and on Thursday you kept saying that we just wanted it more than Leon, and for that goal, I think Burnley just wanted it more than us to some extent. It was a 50-50. Jay Rodriguez beat Dawson. Then it was perhaps a little bit more in favour of Weghourst than Soucek, but he gets his head to it. Fabianski's just all over the gaff, though. He's waving his arms around in midair. He's nowhere near it whatsoever, and that was to continue for the rest of the game as well. And every time Burnley got a corner, I was panicking, and there's a lot of calls, including myself, for Areola to start for this game. And I think as soon as it's 1-0, I think Moyes has made the wrong decision to start with Fabianski in this game. Actually, we've gone up against a team that we know we're putting a lot of crosses that are really physical, and we've put in quite a timid goalkeeper in between the sticks, when actually Areola is showing coming for crosses and stuff, he's comfortable with.
Good
And
words.
even if he has to come 16 yards out into the 18-yarder and punch it, he will do that. And I just think it was the wrong decision to play Fabianski today, and it's cost us that. He's not the only one at fault, but I think when you've got a goalkeeper that's a bit like that, all you do is encourage the opposition. Opposition suddenly smell blood, thinking, great, let's just pile everything in. And you saw at the end there, they had a corner with Cornet, and you knew where it was going to land. Burnley were crowding the 6-yarder because they knew essentially West Ham almost don't have a goalkeeper for this corner. We can win the header, we scored a goal kind of thing. The keeper's not going to come and catch it. And it was just a real poor goal to concede. But I think what was worse to some extent, and I kind of understand, I don't want to be too critical, but that injury just killed all our momentum whatsoever. From then until half time, I thought we were really poor, Gonzo. I thought we would become really scrappy. I thought our passing wasn't as good. I think we got a little bit slower. I think Burnley's tails were up. And this is before we even talk about the penalty. But I just thought we became the second best team, actually, from the substitution when obviously Westwood had to go off. Yeah. I thought Burnley were the better team for the remainder of the first half, actually. Yes. First of all, do you agree with me? And second of all, what do you make of the penalty incident?
Yeah, I do absolutely agree with you. I mean, I think it's fair to say something's happened in the crowd, and every time I think something like that happens, I mean, they just coped with it better. That being said, anytime something happens in a crowd like that, I always worry that it's a cardiac arrest. I do worry that the defibrillators come out and a CPR being performed. I do, and apparently it happened twice. So there's something clearly's happened. Clearly, Vlasic was disturbed by what had happened with a Westwood injury. And we've not only sent our medics to go and help Westwood afterwards, we've sent our medics into the crowd. So clearly there's something going on there. And Burnley just refocused quicker than we could. And I don't blame it. I don't blame Vlasic for, if it looks, I'm quite squeamish myself. I don't know with gore and nastiness. I can't even look at it myself. So I get it. But, you still have to adjust. And what you have to do is, as the management team, you have to look and think, I'm not just laying it all on Vlasic here. But if he is that disturbed by it, then you have to take him off, really. Yeah. You've got to make a decision there. But no blame to him at all if he can't carry on. But you need to address the situation. But the rest of the half, yeah, I mean, I just wanted it to end. And obviously it seemed like it was never going to end because they'd been saying 53 minutes, and all the rest of it. But they had all the momentum then, and they looked a lot better than us. And we weren't as bad as we were against Burnley in the first half because Brentford.
Brentford, yeah.
So I thought everyone was terrible against Brentford. We still had 3 or 4 players playing well, but at this point, I was really concerned by Johnson, which leads on to your second point there. The ball control was terrible, and then unfortunately, you see what you have, which not just with Johnson, it's a hallmark of our team. We are generally not as quick as the players we play against, So he then lost the race. Fabianski was a bit rash, and we were lucky that it was such a crap penalty, really. But I thought at that point, Cornet was just going up against Johnson all the time. At that point, he was faster than him, and he wasn't having a great game. So we already had 2 players in the goalkeeper and Johnson, who Burnley, who are not in great form, felt they could target. So they had two avenues of attack already against a team like us who weren't playing particularly well.
Went 1-0 down at half time, but Gonzo come out the second half and we were on the front foot from the off, really. Obviously, this was always going to happen. Burnley were also going to retreat to their 18-yarder and almost trust their defence, trust their goalkeeper, trust their midfield, trust their attack to do to defend from the front, really. But we got on the front foot and a lot of ball, and it took us a little while to start creating some chances, but I thought we played quite well. I have to say, in the second half, I think we were perhaps wasteful. There was no evidence of fatigue, in my opinion, against Lyon. There was none of that. It was just that we weren't quite creating good enough chances. We were getting lots of bits and pieces around the box. The crosses just weren't quite good enough. They were mishit. Antonio had a really good chance with a header that ended up looking like he was trying to pass it to Bowen, but he was definitely trying to score with that header. It was a real glorious chance, and we just didn't really threaten Nick Pope whatsoever. Obviously, I'm not talking about the two chances at the end after Soucek scored. Prior to Soucek scoring, which was in the 75th minute, so for half an hour, I thought we were well on top, but just not creating anything, lacking cutting edge again.
We did lack a cutting edge. I thought, I thought Johnson's crossing got better, which was started to get a bit more shape to his crosses. I thought Antonio, I was surprised actually. Antonio, I probably one person that benefited from, which is a long gap in that first half and then half time, and so it allowed Antonio to actually both together have a 25-minute breather. So I thought he came out for the second half with more energy, which I was surprised about, and he started to cause them a few problems. Not he was stretching them, but because they would progressively get deeper and deeper. And I thought at that point Lanzini was starting to get on the ball a bit more. Declan Rice was starting to drive forward.
Soucek was getting in the box.
Soucek was getting in the box, but I was infuriated actually, Geo, by Cresswell's refusal to cross the ball first time. I mean, and it was damaging, in the extreme damaging, in terms of just sticking another second or 2 seconds on our attack. He just won't hit it with his first touch. Just will not. And it was killing us. So most of the time when that was happening down there, because he wouldn't cross his first touch, the defender would close. He would then turn around, recycle the ball back, and it would end up being moved across into the middle where we'd look. And, maybe Declan Rice might want to look for a long shot, but obviously they were defending really well, closing down really well. Declan Rice couldn't have the long shot or whoever it may be. And it was an opportunity. And for all, because I felt Johnson had a bad game, by the way. I felt Johnson's crossing wasn't good enough. It got better in the second half, but he at least understood the value of sometimes hitting it early in there. And I was really disappointed because I thought Cresswell looked sharp. He had that double volley early on. I mean, he looked like his technique was, and at the start, he actually looked, second half, he looked sharp. So I think if you're looking sharp, just do it, mate. Do it. I know your technique is good enough. Run onto the ball, bang, whip it over there, do something whippy, do something, and just, I thought it really hindered our attack. Not that he was the biggest culprit today, but he's better than that.
Yeah, I have to agree. When Benrahma came on as well, just before Soucek scored, I thought he started to made a small difference. I think Burnley were a bit more afraid of him, and he seemed to be a bit more direct. But he's also a bit slow at putting the cross in. He just needs 3-4 touches, cuts back so much. He decides, okay, I'm going to cross it now, and he realizes he's almost too far back. He's going to have to give it to Declan Rice. And I agree with what you're saying about Ben Johnson, and that's a good defense of him because he did have a really bad game, but like you said, putting in crosses first time deserves some sort of praise when he was the only one doing it. And I think his crossing improved a bit, Johnson's. He was almost hitting it into the right areas, but not necessarily finding teammates, if you know what I mean. He was just sort of, I'm just going to put it in and someone's just going to have to try and get on the end of it, which shouldn't be the best way forward. But like you said, when you're getting no other crosses coming in from any other players, it's better than nothing to some extent. However, Gonzo, we did get our equaliser in the 74th minute. Free kick from Manuel Lanzini somehow evades the head of Weghourst, and Soucek arms it in.
That's exactly what happened. He armed it in, didn't he, really?
I hate this. I hate the rule that
it's a terrible rule.
Letter of the law, it counts, but in terms of like a football fan, I hate it. I absolutely hate the fact that you can score with your arm.
Well, I think the rule is wrong. Obviously that is the rule, and it is a goal. By the law, the letter of the law, it is a goal. So I don't mind the fact that if it's above the sleeve, that they don't class it as a handball. It's a shoulder. I understand that, but I think when you do that, it takes it out of it. I mean, it wasn't quite the full Thierry Henry against Ireland. Don't get me wrong, but he did. It wasn't like it bounced. If it bounced up, if you're like defending with your arms behind your back and it bounces up and it hits that part, okay, you can't. But actually, I think when you lead in to direct it with your arm, it is that would take it. Was a. But it was a goal illegally.
I was going to say though, is that not good play by Soucek? Almost thinking, well, I can score with this part, so there you are. I'm going to have it. There you are.
Sure. No. Really good. But we'll see how we feel when that happens against us. That's all I'm saying.
We're all. I like to think we're always fair and honest. And that is the letter of the law. It's a goal, but it's you celebrate, of course, and you don't really care how it goes in, but as we're analysing it and discussing it just, I don't know. I hate
Did
that
you
rule.
celebrate it? Because I
Yeah.
was waiting for the VAR. Oh, you did?
Yeah, because I think the Burnley defence only 1 or 2 appeal for the handball. The rest of them were like, it's a goal. Soucek went and got it, ran back. Everybody seemed quite confident it was a goal. I didn't even think they checked it that
until
long.
we kicked off, I still was there. My pen and my pad, I was still there until we kicked off. I was still okay. Right, that was a goal then.
But they
Now
didn't
I'm writing
even.
my notes that we scored.
They didn't even pause the game, as far as I'm aware. They didn't even pause the game for checking it. They paused the game. When you see the Leicester Newcastle highlights, I had it on in the background because that was on the telly. And Bruno's first goal, he sort of kicks it under Schmeichel's legs, if you like. That VAR lasted for about 3 minutes, and there was nothing to check, really. I'm just R1. They didn't even bother checking it. So I was like, all right, fair enough, we'll take it. But then on Gonzo, it was all sort of one-way traffic. Burnley had a couple of dangerous counter-attacks. It didn't really lead to anything. However, I mean, Nick Pope, this save from Issa Diop, there's the Antonio one as well, but this Issa Diop save is outrageous. I celebrate this one more than I celebrate the Soucek one because I thought it was a goal. And the ball comes in. Diop gets a real powerful header down into the corner. It's not right in the corner, but it's down into there. Bounces off the ground as well. You always get told by people that play the, pundits and always suggest that as a defender, you go up for it, you head it into the ground. And if it comes off the surface, what a save! That is honestly a world-class save from Nick Pope, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it was a Gordon Banks save. That's it was really, really good. Just an amazing save, really. And I can't say, I mean, he was man of the match today. But I don't mean that to diminish how well Burnley played, because they still had other players that played well. It wasn't like they didn't have any attack from the outfield, and it's like they had no shots and we had 50, and their goalkeeper was man of the match. But I'll tell you how good Nick Pope was. If you'd have swapped goalkeepers round, we would have conceded no goals and we would have scored maybe 4, right? But put it the other way around, and that's a hell of a thing in a football match, to take one player, regardless of the position, to take one player out of a team and you swap them round, and it would change the result that much. But that's how good he was, and there's a massive lesson there for whatever West Ham are thinking of doing, or however they're looking at the goalkeeping situation, which is just how valuable a really, really good goalkeeper is. They're worth points, and if they're really good, they're worth lots of them. And he was worth, ultimately he was worth 8 points to them today. But I tell you what, that would have been, that they could have won that game if it wasn't for that penalty, really poor penalty. I just felt that the 2 goalkeepers were quite influential for different reasons in that game. And he saved from Bowen. Amazing in the first half, where he sprung across there as well. Just really a very, very impressive goalkeeper. And when you're claiming like that, and even towards the end, we swung over some crosses. There was a set play as well, a free kick. The confidence he must give that defence. I think you said the word timid earlier. Great description, great word for Fabianski there, because whilst Fabianski was timid, I thought Pope was bullish and commanding and authoritative, and basically just took the lead and said, "This is mine. That's it." And actually, as a fan watching it, it made me depressed and lacking in confidence that actually any of our balls going in would do anything. So actually, he's so good, and I was watching it thinking, well, actually, these little short routines where Declan Rice would come short were actually probably seem to be working out a little bit better. Lanzini's, and it did end up as a bit of a mistake for our goal, because Weghourst made the mistake. It was a lovely delivery from Lanzini, but by and large, they had our number in the air.
Yeah, he's a top keeper. We've always been fans of him on this channel anyway. If he could use his feet, he'd be England's number 1. That's the only thing that stops him being England's number 1. When I was at Burnley, when I was at the reverse fixture earlier this season, and when we were whipping in crosses, he calls it early as well. As soon as the ball leaves our player's foot from outside the box, he's got his name on it, so the defenders know he's on his way. Get your striker out his way. Get a hold of your striker and just sort of hold him off. Nick Pope's on his way. Leave him. He's going to get it. And he just gets everything. There's no hesitation. There's no panic. In it comes, bang, proper fist on it, and the ball travels 15, 20 yards kind of thing. He catches it. Superb goalkeeper. Anyway, Wednesday night, Gonzo, Mikel Antonio was in the press conference with David Moyes and got sort of asked about his lack of goals. And he basically said, yeah, I'm not scoring a lot of goals, but I'm doing everything else that's needed. I'm setting up goals. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. He made his case as to why he should be in the team. We witnessed it against Lyon, didn't score, wonderful. But he did everything else. But tonight, he got that opportunity to get his goal. This is where, Jared Bowen and Mikel Antonio running in on Collins. Bowen plays into him, rides the challenge of Collins on his sort of on his left foot, but then he sort of hits it with his right foot. Great save by Nick Pope, but I don't think Nick Pope should be allowed to make a save from this situation. Antonio's got to do better, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, there's actually, I think you can marry that up with another opportunity that happened just before it on the 86th minute of the game. Because what Mikel Antonio showed in that instance was that he, in the last one, by the way, didn't have the striker's instinct to finish that off. In the 86th minute one, it was too much because he actually had two players to play him. Were in much better positions and he went with a shot. So I don't mind if we're playing this, and bearing in mind we don't have let's call it an official striker at the moment. Well, that's okay, as long as when you're not in the striker positions, you can then do the other stuff. Can you then be the provider? And this is just about what's happened at Burnley. As I said, against Lyon, he was sensational and I would say custom built for the role against Lyon, but today required a different role. So actually, when it came to the point where he was advancing in the 86th minute as a wide forward, he's never going to score from there. And Rice had made the run, and Rice was unmarked. There was someone else in the middle, might have been Ben Rama. The ball should have come across, didn't come across. The one you're alluding to at the end, him and Bowen bearing down. Bowen plays him in, he goes through. He has to strike with his left foot on his second touch once he's gone past the player. That's what has to happen. And it sort of smacked of somebody trying to get into the most comfortable position they can because he's not an instinctive finisher.
The worst thing is he's very honest. Arguably it could go down because it looks like, Collins clips him. Maybe not, he doesn't plow into the side of him and wipe him out or anything, but he certainly clips him. There's definitely contact there or if there's not any contact, because Mikel Antonio's leaped over him. He's gone over him a little bit. It's a small little jump he has to do, which affects his stride. It's very honest play by him. He's just got to be finishing. He has to be finishing it. I think you make a very good point that if he is going to big himself up as a provider, then he's got to do the providing part. But he was very selfish. That chance you're alluding to, if you've not seen the game, he's on the 18-yarder. He's not central. I wouldn't say he's wide, but he's to the side of the post. And he's got Bowen and other Ben Rama in the box, in better positions than him. He takes a shot on it. It's just tipped over by Pope. I think Pope could have kept his hands down. I think it would have went over the bar anyway. I don't think it was going on target. It was just frustrating, really, because we had enough shots, enough chances, just poor finishing and poor decisions and stuff. But it finished 1-1, Gonzo. What do you make of the game? I mean, are you happy that we got the point coming from a goal behind, or are you a bit disappointed, or you sort of thought that, do you think we played well, just didn't have enough?
I didn't think it was the same as the Brentford one. The Brentford game was in utter disgust, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think we've played well today. Yeah. I think we've played well. I honestly think we've played well today. I think injuries changed the game completely. I think we were playing good up until that point. And that's why I think you've got to look at the first half in two halves almost, where it's sort of pre-injury and post-injury, because you see a different West Ham and you see a similar Burnley to both. I think they cope better, even though it was their player that went off. I think they cope better with the sort of mentality of it or whatever. I don't know if when our players went over to get a drink, they almost switched off a little bit, or they almost calmed down. And whereas maybe Burnley got a pep talk and got G'd up a little bit. But post-injury, they were definitely the better team. For that 10, 15 minutes, they were the much better team in the first half. But at halftime, I felt okay because I thought I've seen enough from us. In the second half, we were all over them. We were just lacking. The crosses were poor. There's plenty of crosses, but they weren't great. I don't mind them when they're like outswingers and they're not great because the ball stays in play. It's when Ben Rama's on the left, cutting back and whipping them in. If he overhits them, goes out for a goal kick, and Nick Pope takes 90 seconds to take his goal kick, as he should. I'm not blaming Nick Pope here. I'm blaming the poor cross. And it felt like today we had lots of possession, lots of neat bits of play, lots of players played good. Maybe nobody was excellent, but I think they played good. just not quite enough kind of thing. And it's a disappointing result in the end for me, not necessarily because of the game. Just going into this one, we had to win the league position and stuff. And it's 2 points dropped as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not too angry or disappointed because, like I said, I think we played well. Nick Pope's pulled off one world-class save and 2 or 3 other top saves as well in that game from Bowen, from Antonio. But another day, like you said, another day, we scored 3 or 4 in that game. It's just we come up against top keeper and top form, and we didn't really take our chances.
No, we lacked a little bit of cutting edge, and there was some, some poor defending for the goal, and it could have been slightly worse because that. But I don't think we were completely not at the races. We did have some half decent performances today. We did get a point, which is not fantastic, but ultimately is a point more than both Arsenal and Tottenham. I guess we get to see. I guess Wolves haven't played yet, have they? So
No.
We'll have to see what they do. When it's sort of as you were over to next week, so we're still still absolutely in the chase for European football via the league. We certainly, I'm sure, will be a lot fitter and a lot sharper than that next week. But next week it's Chelsea, which obviously won't be easy at all.
But Chelsea, just so you know, Chelsea got a game midweek. Chelsea playing Wednesday night.
Well, you don't know what's going to happen. I do think a lot of the gripes that we might have with Antonio there were probably down to the fact just too many games. If he was absolutely sharp, would he do better in some of those situations? Maybe not. But it's hard. It's hard, mate. I don't want to go overboard on anything. Cause I just don't know what's happened in the bigger scheme of things. I don't know what's happened to maybe 1 or maybe 2 people in the crowd today. So I mean, it could be bigger things than West Ham getting a point rather than 3. So onwards and upwards, mate. We're in the semi-finals of the Europa League, and we can have to play much better than that. But there's questions. There's questions with the striker. There's questions with the goalkeeper, and I probably would have, if I'm honest, swapped Johnson and for Soucek at half time.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was an obvious sub actually. I feel like that was a tap-in sub for David Moyes to make as well. I don't know why he didn't do it. And the worst thing is, while we said Johnson, at least he's been across it. Could you imagine with Soucek with all that space that Johnson had in the second, all that chances put in? I think we would have seen some better crosses coming in than what Johnson provided. We're going to discuss individual players very, very quickly, but before we do, drop a like on video, subscribe new around here, WHUFC Sport channel. All the links are in the description. Do check out the description as well as the pinned comments of this video. Gonzo, just grab 1 or 2 players, discuss them, and give me your man of match as well.
Diop again. I thought I don't apportion any blame to Diop today. It's another good. Well done, Diop. Again, 2 good games in a row. We're going to need that for the rest of the season. I was really pleased to see Bowen looking fit as well, which was really good. Throughout the game, he was still legging it and bursting past their defence in the 90th minute or 93rd minute or whatever it was. So I thought I was pleased to see that. I was actually pleased to see a few of the players looked not too jaded. I didn't think Lanzini looked too jaded, for instance. I didn't think actually I'll leave that one. Disappointing with Vlasic there, I've got to say. I was sort of willing and hoping for something more, really. But the quest goes on.
I'll be honest. I know maybe being too nice to Vlasic here. I thought he looked okay until the injury. I thought he looked quite enthusiastic, and he was clearly distraught. Now maybe I'm giving him too much benefit of the doubt here to say that his whole game then was occupied by what happened with Westwood, but he didn't play well. Post-injury, I was disappointed, but before that collision with Westwood, I thought he was looking, I guess the word is busy. He didn't really create anything, but he was getting involved. He was working hard and stuff. But I will agree, from Westwood going off onwards, he wasn't good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. Some opinions on some players there.
Yeah, I agree with Diop. He's actually my man of match. I thought Diop was brilliant today. On another day, he scores the winner for West Ham.
Yeah.
Nick Pope stopped him in. There was a lot of occasions in the second half, not the first half, the second half, where we would be pushing the pressure on Burnley. They'd clear the ball to Weghourst or whatever, and Diop would just nip in. I thought Diop's reading of the game was superb. Now, he often gets caught out doing that. There is games where he will do that and he'll miss it, or there's striker will nudge him, and then before you know it, bang, the striker's running out our defence and our centre-back's the wrong way. But today he got everything spot on. He got done at one point in the first half where Burnley had a counter-attack and Weghourst flicked it and turned and ran. But that's just excellent play by a striker, really. Diop's in the position behind him saying, well, what are you going to do? You're going to have to do something bloody good. And he did do something bloody good. Thought Lanzini looked good. Don't really blame him for the lack of cutting edge. His job's almost to get the ball to Vlasic, get the ball to Bowen, get the ball to Antonio. I thought we were doing that. I thought we were getting the ball to those players. Just they were letting us down. He was getting the ball out to Johnson, to Creswell. I thought he was nice and tidy in there. But yeah, Diop, my man match. Who was your man match, my friend?
Declan Rice for me. Just thought he, was really pleased to see him as fit and sharp, and so that was pleasing for me after the European game. It didn't quite work out, didn't quite manifest itself in 3 points. Ultimately, Declan Rice wasn't able to influence the game as much as Nick Pope did, but I was pleased to see him driving us forward, trying to change the tempo of the game. He couldn't leave that pitch today with his hands held up like that. So I tried everything I did. I really tried everything. I did my job today. So, yeah, that would be. But, yes, obviously I picked up the up earlier. I had a really good game.
Good man. Thank you very much. Well, if you enjoyed this review, please do drop a like on the video by clicking the thumbs up button as well. Subscribing if you're new around here. Like I said, check out the description and pinned comments. Myself and Gonzo, catch you in a bit.